Let's go inside. Right, let's try to hide it here in a little bit. Barricade it.
Yeah, got it.
All right, I'm gonna check the corridor. Oh, we have activity. All right, come on in. Chenka, you want to cover the left side? Smoke, take the right.
Moving up.
There's 2 on the right side. Make that 3.
All right, take him out.
Lights on.
Yeah. Oh, behind. Right, watch out, through the wall. Came right behind you. Let's go in the media room. Behind. All right, let's go. Watch out behind those walls.
For no reason!
Yeah, there's one back there. Okay, looks clear. Let's set up for the door over here.
All right, center it up.
Perfect.
Here we go.
Right.
I've got multiple hostiles.
Yeah, we got a lot of breachers. Watch out.
Take them out.
We got a rooter behind.
Reloading.
Smoking it up.
Yeah, try to back up a little bit if you can. Yeah, ooh, rooter right here. You see it? Behind again.
You got me?
Got one. Is there another one?
Yeah.
Locus down. Head to the serology lab.
Okay, everybody in.
Oh, we're just lucky, or do they know where we're headed?
We continue with the mission. It's all we can do. We kill over here.
Okay, lights off. Take your time. We have a grunt over here. Okay, I'll line him up. Watch out on the left side. Yeah, critter right here. You probably heard that. Watch out. Let's take the right side.
Yeah, right behind you.
Yeah, they heard that, definitely. Watch out behind you, Chenka.
In front of us.
Yep. Take him down. All right, meet up at the top of the stairs. Yeah, they're coming. They're right behind us. Watch out. Try to wait it out a little bit. Okay, looks clear. Let's try to cross the courtyard without getting too much attention. Got breachers.
Couple on the right.
Yep.
Going through.
Yeah, let's meet up inside.
The dock should be close by.
Room is clear.
Okay, Chanka, you want to take point? Watch out, breacher. All right, lights on. Let's just go for it. Under, below.
Package located. Secure her and prep for exfil.
Okay, barricading windows.
All right,
Barricading
perfect.
door.
Gonna get some reinforcements.
Turret up over the courtyard.
Perfect.
Killing drone deployed.
Gonna cover a corner over here.
Okay, I'm gonna secure the doctor.
Perfect.
You made it. Good. Now help me recover my research so we can get the hell out of here.
You've got hostiles inbound. Protect the doctor at all costs.
I'm right behind you, Chanka.
Right.
Do You see them?
I see a couple on the west.
Yeah, a lot of them. Light him up. Okay, I'm backing up.
Okay, north
To
side.
the right side. There's more. Are they coming through the
Moving
wall?
my turret.
On the other side.
Turret's back up in that.
Okay, watch out.
Fortifying.
Yeah, perfect. Watch out, there's more behind that wall. They're gonna breach it.
Smoking up the hallway.
Yeah, I see a lot of them over here. Oh, they breach the right side. They're coming from the ceiling. Yeah, Doctor's under attack, watch out. Drag out. I need cover.
Get the Dr. Pathology and grab that research.
All right, I think we're good. Gonna get the doctor. Let's get out of here.
All right, covering you.
Following you.
All right, but that's all the time we have for the live demo today. I hope you enjoyed it. And off to Justin for the expert panel.
At live gameplay footage of Outbreak, our free event coming to all consoles and platforms in the near future on March 6th. It is going to be lasting 4 weeks, and we cannot wait for you guys to play. Please give a big round of applause to my amazing panelists that will be breaking down all the details that you just saw. Of course, we didn't want to spoil everything. Mac, you are just coming off the demo. Thank you back for joining us. But please give a big round of applause for my 3 amazing guests. Lucian Solban, lead writer on Outbreak. How's it going, Lucian?
It's going really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How's it going? It's so great to be here on the big stage, showcasing Outbreak for the first time.
Seriously, this is like living the dream.
Yeah, what's it like for you as the lead writer to see it out there for the first time?
It's really incredible. I've been waiting a year for this thing to finally come out and to see everybody's reaction, to hear all the feedback on it. It's just incredible. And to see Mac just doing that great run-through right now, I can't wait to play it.
Absolutely. And my second guest, Irvin Dostres, please give him a big round of applause. Technical director on Rainbow Six Siege. How's it going, Irvin?
I'm fine, except they survived, so I'm sad as the AI team.
As technical director, it's your job to be the player's worst nightmare.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And unfortunately for you, Irvin, Mac, you succeeded, your team succeeded in accomplishing the first half of that mission. Of course, we have 3 maps, but you guys finished that first half.
Yeah, we managed to go through it. I was pretty excited to see. It's always stressful. We never know what can happen, and this is the live demo. It's actually what player's going to play. There's no cheats, so it was pretty stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. But you guys handled it wonderfully. A lot of Tachanka Pro plays, I see you there. Now, to go over all the details that you're going to be experiencing here, we're going to break down everything from the story to the AI to the level design of everything. But first, let's set the stage here. Lucian, what is going on in Outbreak? What's happening here?
In Outbreak, what we have is we have a Soviet capsule, at least 40, 50 years old, that's been lost for quite a long time, ends up by re-entering orbit, crash lands in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, and it's got a parasite on board. parasite spreads, infects everybody there in town. Town gets quarantined, and right now, Rainbow and the people that are there are the only thing holding this thing back. If it gets out, it's a bad hair day for everybody.
Bad hair day, and obviously we saw a lot of really cool visuals in our CG trailers leading up to this weekend.
Yeah.
And that was really setting that story, and we recommend you guys go check those out. There's going to be a lot more of those in-game that you can experience as well. And so one question that a lot of players come to me about, why are we introducing this event? Why are we doing this event for Outbreak?
The question on everybody's mind, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that, I guess you can look at Siege as a sports car. And as a sports car, you really want to be able to punch it. You want to push it to its limits, and you want to be able to see what this thing can do. We've got a great engine. We've got a solid roster of characters. And honestly, going into year 3, we just wanted to have fun. We wanted to break all the plates. We wanted to show what we could do with this engine, how far we could push it, the destructibility of it, the relentlessness of the enemies just coming towards you. All of that. We really wanted to have that moment that we could enjoy, that we could have fun as gamers and sharing that experience with our community.
Having fun with the game that we love so much, with the operators that we love so much, of course, Tachenka and all those wonderful characters that we'll get into in a minute. But this was really a celebration of our community to kick off year 3. We've talked about it before, how this is kind of it is a free event. You don't have to pay anything. You don't even have to play it if you don't want to. But it is going to be there for people that do want to experience that world a little bit deeper.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that, we keep on saying, okay, we're kicking off year 3 and we're going to do it in style. But the fact of the matter is that the last 2 years have been, wouldn't have not been possible without the community growing behind us, without the goodwill and all the positive the feedback that we've received, all the players that have come into the game recently as well. It's been phenomenal. And so the thing is that everything that we're doing with Outbreak is also a celebration of the last 2 years, to say thank you to everybody here, saying thank you so much for the love and support.
It's a celebration of everyone in this room watching Rainbow Six Siege all week long at the Six Invitational. It's been a really special week, a really special weekend, and we really thank you, everyone, for being here. And of course, with Outbreak, it does create a bit of disruption. It's not the 2 operators, 1 map that everybody's used to. It's something different.
I like how you say a bit of a disruption, because it's not a bit. The thing is that what we wanted to do is, you take a look at the operators and stuff, and we know players have been wanting to play Tachenka and play him to his strengths and just have him stand there, depressing the trigger on his LMG and just raking down enemies. We've known players wanted to play Glass and have long sight lines and take down enemies. And we know that there have been hostages out there that have been fearing for their lives whenever Fuse is on the map. So we wanted to provide all of that and keep Fuse a little bit away from it.
Absolutely, but introducing the same characters that we love, the same mechanisms and features of Siege that we love, but putting it in a new environment. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is that I think it comes down to this. It's all about respecting who the operators are. We're changing the circumstances around them for this one-shot event. We're doing that so that we can celebrate who the characters are themselves, play the characters that the community knows and loves, but everything else about it is just stuff that we wanted to throw out there.
Stuff that you wanted to throw out there, that you wanted to have fun with. The game designers had a lot of fun with this, creating this, and turning to one of our game designers, Irvin Dos Reyes, the technical director. Irvin, as a designer of Outbreak, as a designer of these AI creatures, these monsters, what does the Parasite allow us to do as a design team?
And the Parasite is the key to freedom in terms of design. Instead of thinking about gadgets which have to sound realistic in the Clancy lore, you think about monster abilities. You just try to have fun. You just focus on how often they are into your gameplay, and that's all. And in terms of readability, you're creating monsters. The silhouette can be easily readable. You can imagine states very obvious for the player to guess, okay, oh, they're doing that. You can much more focus about the gameplay rather than trying to sound real for fans.
And really focusing on trying to survive, which Mac did so well. And really, I mean, it's really you against the AI, you against this system. And let's take a closer look at those AI monsters. We have 5 archetypes, of course. We only saw 3, but Mac went against the grunt, the breacher, and the rooter, but we also have the apex and the smasher. And they're classified into 2 different groups, the grunt and breacher and sort of the critters. So Mac was facing all of these different, grunts and breachers in the beginning, the first 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden a rooter came out, but in that situation it could have been an apex or a smasher. So let's break down each of these different archetypes.
Bouncing back on having fun designing something, you have all those silhouettes very much different from a human one.
Right.
Except for the grunt, which is a weaker archetype of enemy you will encounter. And it started this way. We wanted, okay, let's take up the gun. Let's see what's happening. And you have those swarm of enemy closing the distance with you, totally disrupting your usual tactics in Siege, plus your 3 players only to take care of that. So it was real interesting to the point, to the visual identity, where we've done a prototype by basically, okay, let's see if that works. We push the behavior of our infected to a white mask, the whole Terrorant white mask. And we pushed the animation with that. And man, it was insane. The fantasy was there. It was working. You were having those creatures breaching the walls with their bare hand and closing to your position.
And it actually worked. It actually performed well, and it was fun to play. And here we were taking a look at the grunt, the sort of basic monster that you're going to be interacting with a lot, right?
Yeah, grunt and breacher, you will encounter them a lot in our level. And the grunt is that kind of human silhouette wandering in the levels. He basically don't care about you at the beginning when he's unaware of your presence. So he's kind of weak. You can take him down, you can put a bullet through his head. He will fall down easily until you point that flashlight of yours in their face. And as soon as they listen to you, as soon as they know you're there, oh, everything changed. It's not one grunt, it's a swarm of grunts
running
way.
at you. And they do have that sort of 2-state awareness, unaware, not paying attention to you. But if you do start making noise, like Mac was when he was firing his weapon or had the flashlights on, you heard him cue, all right, flashlights on, flashlights off, to make sure they had that sort of element of surprise against these grunts. But once they become aware, everybody starts rushing at you, and it's chaotic, and it's crazy, and it's madness.
It's parasite time.
It's parasite time. And of course, we also have our breachers. Break us down who the breachers are.
Yeah, we read a lot of complaints on Reddit, like, where's Termite? Why can I play Termite? Yes, you will encounter plenty of Termite. They're very mobile, very agile, and except that they explode in your face, mostly. And it's a very mobile explosive unit. They will try to open a way for their allies to your position, and they will disrupt your group. You will force to avoid being too close from each other. But on top of that, you can use them as a bomb in the midst of your enemies to try to split them or kill them.
So a little bit of strategy there, and as we saw in the demo, the breacher was bursting through reinforced walls, making those openings for the grunts to rush in and attack Tachenka on the turret or even Buck on the turret when you were playing. Now, Mac, we have 3 other classifications of our monsters. We have the Rooter, which you faced in the demo, the Smasher, and the Apex, these Evo characters that come in at certain points of the map called events. Explain events to us.
Well, the thing is that at first we started playing with the first 2 archetypes, and we realized, okay, those are great to fill up the maps. And then when we started to have the Evos, basically we realized, okay, so these guys are a lot harder to deal with than the first 2. And so we have to dedicate moments, so we call them events, where we're going to face off against those.
So you created these little moments where you'd face off against a Rooter or one of these Smashers or one of these Apex creatures. So, Irvin, run us through some of these different creatures, starting with the Rooter that we did see in the demo.
Yeah, this is my favorite little nightmare. She's a very fast and agile support unit. She will teleport at first to try to stay afar from your team and crowd control you. She will root a player in your team, forcing him to stay a bit immobile at first. And then, if you damage her enough, if you annoy the lady enough, she will teleport to your position into a bloodless state to finish the job.
So she has quite a few things going on here. A crowd control area effect that can stop all players in their tracks. and then she can also teleport, and then also has a bloodlust mode. So she's definitely a monster that you need to take out quick, and Mac's team did take out quick work of that rooter when she came around.
Yeah, she don't like Chenka. You don't move. That's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And she has synergies with other monsters where if you are rooted, then a breacher can run up and explode in your face. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Smasher. One of my favorite monsters, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a little baby between Mountain and Sledge. He has the armor of Mountain. That means you can shoot as much as you want in his front armor. It will just get him angry. And then you think you're safe behind your wall, and no, you don't. He will breach through to take you down. It's a very beast-like, arcade-like creature. It has that feeling like the whole game. You read this button kind of easily. It's very strong, but has a weak point, and you have to find it and find a strategy around it to take him down.
So he does have a weak point. We're not going to spoil that for everyone. You're going to have to find out when what that weak point is when you play either on the test servers starting on February 20th or on March 6th. But he does have a weak point. You can take him down, but he is kind of this sledge with a Montaigne shield running at you who can burst through walls and not knock you back, as we saw in that trailer.
Knock you through windows,
Knock
too.
you through windows.
And worst case scenario, we have done very nice game over cinematic, guys.
So if you do die, we didn't see it. Mac prevented the game over cinematic, but if you do die, it does look pretty cool while you're doing it. All right, so that is a look at 4. We have one more, the Apex. Explain to us who the Apex is.
Well, as the name says, it's the top of the food chain. It's a leader. And as every good leader, he will try to stay as far as possible from the action. He will try to get as far from you as possible and shoot you that kind of eco beam. If you get in him, you get disrupt, you will lose your scope view, etc., etc. But if it wasn't enough, he will try to spawn a buffer of basic enemy between you and him. And those enemies are not the normal one. They're not weak. They will close their way through you faster, and they will be more resistant to your bullets.
So not only is the Apex going to be shooting echo drone-like concussion bolts at your face, but he's spawning harder to defeat enemies and just rushing at you over and over again. That's a crazy design, and I'm kind of disappointed we didn't see it in the demo, but the players, I'm really excited to see how they're going to tackle the Apex. Now, Mac, we did see the Rooter spawn up in a few of these, and these Evos will, as you were mentioning before, they spawn during the events. Why, explain to us a little bit more about why we have these events, what allows us to drive the story and drive the spawning of these bigger monsters with events.
Well, the thing about the events is, well, first we have 2 kinds of events. We have the predetermined ones and presets, so that you're going to make sure that every time you're going to go there, you're going to have a smasher on fire charging at you, so that's going to be pretty scary. But we also have the systemic events. The idea behind the systemic events is that we wanted to make sure that the players don't know what's going to be happening. So sometimes you're going to go and it's going to be a smasher, sometimes it's going to be an Apex, and when you're going to crank up the difficulty, it actually might be 2 of them at the same time.
So 2 smashers or 2 rooters at the same time on harder difficulties.
Actually,
and
4 routers.
4 rooters.
Yeah.
That's 4 rooters. That would be insane to see.
Yeah.
Because you had difficulty taking down just 1, and imagine if you have 4 of those guys running at you.
It's absolute chaos. Yeah.
Now, obviously, with all these monsters that you're going to be facing, we're going to have bigger maps and have different maps. Talk to us a little bit about the challenges behind the level design that you faced when creating these 3 maps.
Well, the thing is that at first, one of the first things we realized is that, okay, so we have these new enemies that are very interesting to play with. We need the context. So we started by putting him in the house just to see what had happened. And we saw basically in a very beautiful setup in the house, everything was getting destroyed. It was awesome to see, but it lasted about 2 to 3 minutes. So I was like, okay, so that's great, but we need to have dedicated location to those enemies. So that's how we came up with maps that are much bigger than what we have today. So the first map...
So let's talk about exactly how big those maps are. Because you mentioned house. You mentioned house.
Yes.
That is sort of our standard map. How big are the maps in Outbreak compared to house?
Well, if we compare on the house, you see it on the left side. The house is maybe a 33 by 31 meter. And on the right, you have up to scale the size of the first part of hospital. So the size difference is actually pretty huge.
That's a huge comparison. Of course, that is only one part of the level.
Yes.
And that's the one part that you actually played in the demo.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and of course, we also have new objectives there. You had to save the doctor, but you know, it was a little bit different than what we're used to in terms of hostage rescue, where you just grab her and run.
Yeah.
But now it's actually a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, we had to expand on the how do you call it, the objective system. So before, like you said, we had you go in, you grab the hostage, you get out, that's it, you have victory. Well, if you want to create a long 20 to 30 minutes experience, of course, you're going to have to expand on that. So as you can see in the demo we played today, which was the first part, that was actually just to get to the hostage. But when you get to the hostage, you're not done. You just don't go out right away. You actually have to take her, do stuff for her, then you can get out.
Yeah, and absolutely, because we were creating these new scenarios for players to actually interact with the game and interact with these objectives, we had to introduce attackers and defenders in the same gameplay. Talk to us a little bit about the design of that. What changes when we have attackers and defenders on the same page?
Well, that's a choice we had to make. It's like, okay, so now we have these new maps, we have these new enemies, but who do we bring? And at first it was like, okay, attackers or defenders, and how would we do with it? And the answer was obvious. Well, for the first time, let's bring both of them together and give them an opportunity to play Tachanka and Ash at the same time.
Tachanka and Ash, or Tachanka and Buck, as you were playing.
Exactly.
And we're going to be breaking down exactly a little bit more about the technical reasons behind that as well with Irvin. But this Parasite really provides us a little bit more freedom of design as we're approaching Rainbow Six Siege characters and gameplay and destructibility, right?
Oh yeah, the Parasite is great because it's finally the thing that allows us to break the rules. For once, we're able to spawn enemies in a new different ways. You're able to face off hordes of enemies. Like you could have seen in the demo earlier, we actually had to take out a lot more enemies than we used to have in Terror Hunt, so the numbers are like almost like 150 if you look. And at the same time, this allows us to create these new kinds of environments. So you'll see in other maps, especially the Parasite is present everywhere. We do a lot of more outdoors and it's a lot more exotic.
Yeah, and I think the big comparison is, you know, you're going to have a ton of monsters running at you. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be insane on these larger maps. And let's take a look at the three maps that we have here. We have Resort, Hospital, and Junkyard. Let's start off with Resort. And Lucian, run us through a little bit of the backstory of Resort.
The resort is a hot springs resort in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, and what happens is it is now the heart of the nest of the Parasite. This is where its archetypes come out. This is where it evolves to counter what you throw at it.
Absolutely. And Mac, how does this play as a map?
Well, Resort is the map that we want to play as a homage to our Siege maps, in the sense that it starts very much like you would do in a disarm the bomb scenario, but this time we're twisting it, so you actually have to go and plant bombs. And once you're done, it's not finished. You actually have to go through the City of Truth of Consequences and a very outdoor environment.
And those objectives are integrated into the map, into the game with a little bit of more story, a little bit more storytelling that players are going to be used to as well. And now let's take a look at Hospital, our second map. Lucian, this is really kind of an intense map.
This is an intense map because what happens is you've got Dr. McIntosh. She was there when the outbreak first started happening. She worked with the CDC teams. She's managed to remain uninfected. And if there's anybody that has any information, it's her, but she's trapped in the hospital.
Obviously, we saw a lot of this doctor in some of the teaser assets that were released leading up to Outbreak. Mac, how does that map play?
Well, as you saw in the demo, this is a map where we took the CQB to the next level. It's very close quarter. You have to go through those corridors, very difficult. And also, it's where we expanded on the concept of hostage rescue, and we took it to the next level where it takes time to get to the hostage, and once you got her, it's not done. You actually have to do stuff before you're able to exfiltrate on the rooftop.
And finally, we have Junkyard, which is really kind of the start of it all, right? Lucian?
Start and end of it all. The junkyard, the nest, is essentially where the capsule is located, and that is what you're going to be going after. It's at the heart of all of this. So you take this down, you may be able to finally fight all of this and stop the infection.
Mac, I imagine there's going to be a lot of monsters here in the junkyard.
Oh, absolutely. This is the heart of the nest. So you can see the environment is very parasited. It feels out of this world. And it's time to take off the training wheels. You're there to blow stuff up.
Blow stuff up in junkyard. Maybe plant that Tachanka turret and just unleash hell.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to figure out when were the training wheels on?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, Irvin, you're going to be playing on these larger maps with more monsters, more difficult monsters. But not only that, you're going to be only playing with 3 players. Why are we limiting it to only 3 players instead of the normal 5?
We have that very grim and most claustrophobic setup of the parasite's infection. And we wanted to just increase a bit the drama. And if you have like only 3 players, everyone become key to the success or to the failure. I mean, you need to work together as much as possible. No one can carry the team. You're only 3 and there's 100 of monsters coming at you.
It puts more value on each person, making each of them more important in this scenario. And on top of all of the monsters, all the different mechanics, there's also a different way of playing stealth. As we saw with Mac, they approached crouching, and then all of a sudden the monsters were aware. So explain to us a little bit more how stealth works in Outbreak.
Yeah, the stealth was a bit improved from the Tyrant. We basically closed the stealth loop. In Tyrant, you go from, oh, I'm undetected, to I'm detected and they will never forget about me. But our maps are a lot bigger with a lot more enemies. So we wanted to give you an opportunity to basically take your breath back and grab some ammo, heal that wounded guys in your team. So we have that mechanic, like you can come back to an hiding place and try back your advance in a more stealth way if you want.
As we discussed earlier, there is that unaware and aware state, and you can go back and forth in between them in Outbreak. This sort of stealth loop that you're talking about allows the players to be a little bit more creative with their strategy. And on top of this, the gadgets that players are normally used to, like flashbangs and smoke, interact with enemies in a little bit of a different manner. Briefly explain how those change.
Yeah, we just wanted to keep the core mechanics from Siege. You don't learn to play your operator differently. You use them with the same gadget the same way. But the effect may differ and make you able to use those new stealth dynamic and those new takedown mechanics you have seen during the demo.
Of course, the same tools that you're used to, you're not going to be learning a whole new game how to play Siege again. It's still the same Siege, but just a few little wrinkles that you're going to be able to experience once you get your hands on Outbreak.
And experiment.
And experiment. And of course, we've been talking about these 2 different difficulty levels. Explain to us what these difficulty levels are, regular and pandemic.
Well, if you don't want to die in front of your streamers, those guys there, over there, you play normal. If you want to enjoy the real experience of Outbreak, of course you play in Pandemic. You will be able to not only enjoy sometimes a mix between various special archetypes, like for example, 2 router assisting the smatcher into smatching you. You will see that the enemy are a lot more resistant, but the top archetype, you will discover a new one just for Pandemic. Your teammates. It's the best one as doing a net shot because the friendly fire will be enabled.
Right, for the first time actually in normal mode in Outbreak, there won't be friendly fire enabled. But in Pandemic, friendly fire is enabled, so if you're tossing a grenade, shooting ash, breaching chard, it's going to create even more chaos than a breacher running at you, for example. And of course, with the Pandemic mode, there are going to be exclusive Ubisoft Club Challenge rewards. And we're going to take a quick look at some of these rewards. They are so cool looking in-game. They can be used in both PvP and PvE, of course. And they're kind of glowing, and there's going to be 1 per week, actually. And there is even going to be 1 leading up to the launch of Outbreak. So these are going to be exclusive for beating Pandemic mode in the game, which is really going to be kind of a cool reward once you receive those. All right, so talking about the operators, going back to the operators, we have a select limited amount of operators. Why are we only limiting it to a certain amount?
There's 2 factors. First, the fan service, and the fact that Vitaly is very big as a man and I'm small. So of course there's Chenka in the game. But also, instead of just the fan service, we have to find the right operator to have a synergy inside the Outbreak operation. And for example, Twitch with her drone zapping grunts would have been funny to see, but a bit useless. And then, as I said, the three operators are key to the drama. Each one is a key player, so they need to really separate their role. And you need someone to maintain the team alive, like Doc or the new operator Finca, which excel at that. You need, with that swarm of enemy coming at you, some good crowd control operator, like Ying, for example, or the new Lion operator to help you manage the amount of enemy coming. And of course, you need the damage dealer. And for that, we bring the Russians, of course.
The Russians, so Tachanka, Kapkan, and Glaz are all going to be playable in this.
Outbreak was just designed for Tachanka. It's Operation
Yes,
Chanka in real.
Operation Tachanka. Yeah, no, I think we're going to see a lot of different gameplay, and not changing the way that operators are played is one of the reasons why Thermite is not actually playable. But he is going to be in there, as Lucian's going to be sort of talking about. But he is going to be in there. But talk a little bit about why we didn't want Thermite playable in Outbreak.
Yeah. Your enemies are not barricaded. So if we wanted to have Thermite as a useful operator, we would have changed basically his gadget. Well, Thermite without the Thermite charge? Really? And we want you to enjoy your operator, the way you play them into Outbreak. We're not bringing a clone of them in Outbreak. We're bringing your operator, your main operators into the games. Absolutely. So they had to be useful. They had to make sense into it.
The main operators, and also your fan favorite operators, like we've seen in the CG trailers with Ash, Thermite, Tachanka, and even Doc in that opening CG trailer. Lucian, talk a little bit about why we selected this all-star cast of Rainbow Six operators.
No, first of all, in all fairness, I did try to give Thermite a nuke. So, I did try to include him in on this. So, look, as far as the operators that we have are concerned, there was kind of a split in how we approached it. The first one was, who are our most popular operators? Who are the operators that the fans know and love and have been there from the beginning? And Ash was at the top of the list. The other thing that we ended up by doing was we looked at the fans and we said, the community, who is it that the community loved? And having an event like this without having Tachanka in it was just an absolute no-go. So we obviously included him. And then there was also a little bit of a personal choice because I had to put in Thermite because I went to high school in Houston, Texas, and he's from Texas. So I was like, okay, he's an Aggie. I've got to give some love there.
Absolutely. But it's beyond just that as well, because we saw Ash and Thermite becoming more than just characters, standalone characters. Their relationships are building in these CG trailers as they're talking, as Thermite wants to just nuke the town of Truth or Consequences. And Ash is like, hold up a second, we can think about this, but let's back off from that option.
Right, and the thing is that also, the other thing is that we wanted to see operators that we never had a chance to see visually before. So Thermite, Doc, we finally take the helmet off, we take off the welder's goggles, and we have our characters there. We actually got to play with them and have them on screen and sort of pay off a lot of the community love for those personalities. Now the thing is that when we had them on set, especially with, let's say, Patricia, who was playing Ash, and with Thermite, who's played by Carlo, there was a really good dynamic that we had on set there. We had a lot of different scenes written, they played off of each other, and this kind of almost brotherly, sisterly thing ended up by playing off with each other. As a matter of fact, one of the inside jokes even made it into the Elite Ash
winning screen
exactly, where she does that, because in a lot of animations, every time she was interrupting Thermite, she was doing this all the time. So we're like, okay, that's got to go in the game as well now.
So really, did some of the personality of these characters, of these operators, come about because of the actors behind them?
It was a complete melange of different things. It was the actors, how they played them, but it was also who the characters were, who they were in this situation, how they relied on each other, what were the dynamics there, but also who they were to the community. The community with the artwork and the cosplay and everything has really informed a lot of who these characters are, especially since these characters kind of almost existed in a small bit of a vacuum when they were first created, in terms of they never really interacted with each other. There was some crossover, but it was mostly CTU related. And then suddenly we had the ability to do CGIs with them and mix and match them within CGI. So we got to see who they were together. And that was the most important part.
That was the most important part of putting these guys together. As we mentioned on the Universe panel, relationships are going to be so important moving forward as the community has embraced creating relationships around these characters. We wanted to expand on that and really create something a little bit more official, create these CG trailers that bring out the life of our characters so much.
Well, the thing is that you mentioned moving forward, and that's a really crucial point. Because moving forward, we now have a Universe team in place. Farah, who you've interviewed earlier, she is a part of the Universe team, along with myself, along with 2 other writers. We have artists, we have scripters. We are exploring all the different ways that we can now start exploring these characters. And the important thing, like I mentioned before, is our characters existed alone, and we now want them to exist together, to see who they are. Because the important thing for us is that they may agree, they may disagree, there may be some friction between them. But in the end, what's important is how they get together, and in the end, during operations, during these training scenarios, all of it, they are soldiers and they are professionals down to the wire in those moments. But then we also want to explore a little bit more outside of that and play a bit with that as well.
So play a little bit more with the characters, introduce them in new, different scenarios like we're doing with Outbreak, and introduce them in a new light where players can really kind of relate to them a little bit more and actually see these operators interacting with each other. I think that is so important, as we see with Ash, Thermite, and even Tachanka being there, where he's kind of cracking jokes, and his personality is coming out a little bit more. And then we even see Doc in there being more one of those more humanitarians.
Right, and that's the important thing, is that with Doc, he actually really provided a really awesome counterpoint. Because you have Thermite saying, why don't we just nuke them? And now you have Doc who's contending that and demanding more out of Ash. And Ash, as sort of first boots on the ground for 6, is becoming more and more important to Rainbow Six and to the other operators as well. So we really want to be able to showcase those operators, and now the question is, and that's the question that the Universe team is exploring, how do we do that?
How do we evolve those characters for the future, moving beyond Outbreak, moving into year 3, and building those connections, building those storylines that the players have been really embracing, and really, I mean, this is all about the community, all about providing the community with entertainment value for our operators, and really creating this world.
You know, the thing is that the community is the one that's been doing the heavy lifting. I mean, if you think about it, the initial bios that came out were about maybe a paragraph to 2 paragraphs long. The ones that have really informed who the characterizations are have come from the community. The who interacts with whom is, I probably just screwed that one up, but who interacts with who has actually been a major thing that the community has helped bring up and build. And we want to play off of that, and we want the community to be involved. We are listening, we are watching, we are learning. Some of the steps that we take may go off in a direction that they don't appreciate, and we may realize, oh, maybe we didn't mean to go there, or maybe we shouldn't have gone there. And in other points, we're going in directions, and the community has reacted really positively. And I love that dynamic. I love that relationship. The live team gives you this instant level of feedback and a much closer interaction with the community out there, and it's just a fantastic experience.
It's amazing, an amazing community. Rainbow Six Siege's community is one of the most amazing that I've worked with, and Outbreak is here for you guys. This is why we're doing it. And so that is a look at Outbreak, coming to you on March 6th for 4 weeks, and live on the test servers on February 20th. Of course, there are just a few other things that are going to be live on March 6th. We have the Ash Elite skin that will be arriving in the Outbreak packs. We have this Outbreak collection that we are launching with 50 packs available, and the Ash Elite skin will be available in that. So on top of the free one that you're going to be able to get from playing the game, for playing one game before March 6th, you're also going to be able to get an Ash Elite skin that has a different variation. You're also going to be able to get everything from weapon charms to weapon skins to full BDU body dress units with headgear and charms, all within the Outbreak packs. And of course, if you play Outbreak when it's live, you will get 4 free Outbreak packs, and they will be available in-game for our 6 credits. And this is something that we're going to be tying in.
Right.
There's obviously a little bit of storyline here that ties in the operators to the Outbreak packs.
Right, and that's what you're going to be seeing more of, is we're going to use every opportunity and every little thing that we can in order to tie in whatever we release into the lore, into the operators. We want there to be a closer connection between all of the stuff that you see, that you pick up. We want it to resonate with you so that if a player puts on something, they understand where it fits in that character lore, or why it's important, or how they manage to participate in an event.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that said, that is Outbreak, coming to you once again on March 6th for 4 weeks, and on the test servers starting February 20th. Thank you so much to my amazing guests. Please give them a big round of applause. Don't go anywhere. We have the grand finals match between EG and Penta Sports coming up right after this.
Welcome to Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. This sleepy desert town is ground zero for Outbreak, a special Rainbow Six Siege co-op event that pits your team of up to 3 intrepid operators against hordes of, well, these guys. These mutated abominations will do everything in their power to stop you from accomplishing your objectives as you follow the story of Team Rainbow's efforts to quell the carnage and uncover the truth. So you'll need to adapt your tactics if you want to survive. Because the infected are coming for you. Sure, they might look like they're just standing around having a bad time, but if you can't take them out before they spot you, you're gonna have a bad time. Equipping a suppressor can help you sneak through certain areas without causing a fuss, but sooner or later, some grunt is gonna pop off and text all their grunt buddies to come swarm you. But other enemies won't be so direct. Bubble-backed breachers love to leap around, looking to explode themselves next to you or destroy your reinforcements. Keep an eye out for the telltale bubbles on the wall, and make them respect your personal space with a quick melee hit if they get too close. You'll also have to contend with rooters, who zip around evasively and hassle you with spikes conjured from below, which hold you in place until you or a teammate can shoot the offending rooter. Then there's the Apex. They just kind of hang back, making you weaker and making every enemy stronger, and occasionally slashing you in the face with uncanny smoke that would make smoke jealous. And the Smasher? Well, it's right there in the name. It can't see you, but it sure can hit you or run you right over. Try luring it into ramming itself into a wall so you can more easily shoot or stab it right in the weak spot. If you and your teammates manage to complete Outbreak on normal difficulty, take a whack at Pandemic, where friendly fire and more numerous enemies make things extra tough. No matter which difficulty level you take on, you'll be choosing your operators from a carefully curated group with the gadgets and weaponry to give you an edge in the crisis. Choose Doc for his super clutch stim pistol. Take Smoke and his beauties to hold the hordes at bay, and then bring Finka to juice you up so you can gun them down. Finka is one of the new Operation Chimera operators, and Lion is the other. His drone can scan the area and show you where the nearest threats are, But remember, you've only got 3 slots on the team. You can run it with less than 3, but it gets much, much harder. Unless you happen to be some sort of siege deity with godlike powers of destruction.
LMG, mounted and loaded!
Outbreak will be available for a limited time only. 4 weeks from March 6th to April 3rd on all platforms. And while it may seem strange at first to fire so many bullets so frequently in Rainbow Six Siege, you'll soon have a new appreciation for LMGs. And shotguns. And basically anything that shoots bullets at these horrible abominations. For more on Rainbow Six Siege, subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us at news.ubisoft.com.